Alright, the next layer where I'm going to do, to get these guys to the right color, I'm going to give them a bit of a brown wash. And this is a custom color that is made with an ochre brown and a brow brown mixed together. So it's kind of a warmer, kind of a rusty brown. This is actually thicker than I'm going to put on. This is a layer of leftover paint that Anna has just been using for her ethnics. So I'm going to thin it down so it doesn't make these guys too brown. And that's the joy of these babies and this jar method, is that you can use the same paint just by thickening or thinning it for different things altogether. So I'm going to thin this down a little bit so that it will work for mine, and then when she needs it again, she'll just thicken it back up with the colors that she needs. Right, so that should do it. So this will actually make the babies look very warm and a very nice, pleasant skin tone. I'm going to start with Maya. And for this one, I have a different set of sponges that I'm using. I'm going to put it on with a normal wash sponge, and then I'm going to pounce it with not the wedge sponge that I use for the modeling. It could be used for modeling, but it's kind of an in-between sponge. I get them from Walmart in a big bag like this. I accidentally found them on it was kind of an accident. I was hoping for the kind I can use for the modeling. And I can, but they're just not the best. They're just not as stiff as the ones I get from Bountiful Baby. But they have a finer pore system in them than the normal wash sponge. I don't know if you can even see the difference up close. Their holes and their little bubbles in them are a lot finer, which means when you pounce it on them, it takes off extra paint, so it doesn't make them look gritty and dirty. Okay, so we're going to get this started. And this looks alarmingly dark right now. I'm going to blend it out and blend it in. And with this thick of a layer, I'm going to not do the whole head and then pounce it all over. I'm going to do this area and then take the excess off right away. This kind of warms it up and keeps the red tones, but also adds a little bit of more of a natural brownish skin tone to it as well. You can see the difference between the old and the new. And it's almost already dry with this sponge. It takes off a lot of the excess moisture as well. And make sure when you do your line of where your original one stopped and this one starts, that you make sure it's a nice smooth layer in between the two, so there's not a big wedge or a crease or a very clear line in between them. Looking really good. Okay. Always save the face for last because you have the most control over it if you do it last. If you did it first and then move to the back of the head, it might get smushed on something on accident, or your finger might go in it, or whatever. It's just safest to save your face for last, so it's the last thing you see before you put the kit down after you're done with your coloring. That was an amazing transformation there. That was really great. She looks very preemie and very warm, not too red, not too purpley pink. And with those under creases that are already giving her a little bit of life. She looks really, really good. All right, so that's that little Preemie from my hand. She's a very natural color. Obviously, I'm a little bit more pale than normal human beings, kind of a blotchy redhead pale, but she has a nice Preemie skin tone. All right, so that's enough with her. I'm going to skip straight to the littlest one because she started with the whitest vinyl, so that you can see how it looks on her. Can you see what it would look like if I just left it up close? You can see that grittiness. If you left it without going back over the top, it would leave little gritty patterns, and I don't like that. I'm just quite a bit anal protective of my paint jobs. I want it to look smooth and not dirty like it's been rolled in dirt. And that's the joy of these denser sponges. They help remove that grittiness, that dirtiness. Very nice. Okay, so 2 more spots on her, one right through the middle. Well, she's pretty little. She may only go with 1. Right, now it's the time for little Caleb. Now this is going to be my last step for Caleb. I'm not going to take him any further into the preemie realm because he's not meant to be a preemie. He's just going to be a newborn, and this will cap it off, and then I'll just do blushing and creases on him. So the next steps, you'll see he will not be part of them. I'll bring him back in when it's time for details, and then he can get those final detail steps done at the same time as the others. And you can see how the modeling from those very first layers is just starting to peek through. It's looked a lot more bright when we were first putting it on, and now it doesn't look so bright and bold and a little bit scary anymore. I see a little bit of a dark spot here. I have to try to get it out. Do you see it behind the ear? I don't want that in there. Okay. Almost there. And I'll do one hand and one foot so that you can see the difference on them, and then I'll turn the video off while I finish the rest of these pieces, and I'll pick up after I cook this layer on and it's ready for the next stop. Alright, one little cute limb. Again, I start with the feet first, and I'll come in and get rid of the excess. In between the toes and all those little creases. It's like a whole different color than the before. It's kind of nice. Again, this one has that really hard to reach spot in the back of the leg. You just have to kind of get back there as best you can without wiping it off. Put that on the drying rack. All right, and the little hand. Before I start my next video on these ones, I'm going to pull out some preemie pictures of my own kids so that you can see the coloring that I'm going for. And I've made these colors on mini babies, and I'm pretty familiar with them. I had multiple preemie children, so I have memories of these colors like embossed into my brain. But I will pull out a picture so you guys can see the coloring that I'm going for, as well as my brain. Almost there with this little arm, and then I'll stop it and finish up the rest of these pieces and parts and get it cooked, and then I'll come back with the next video. I think I'm going to have to get a new sponge out for the next one because this is almost to its full capacity of absorbing the excess paint. I can feel it putting it back on as I go. Either that or I'll trim off the stuff that's sodden and allow another spot to be there for absorption. There we go. Cute little hand. Okay, so I will come back with the next video after these guys are all finished up and cooked and ready to start the next layer.